Hey, this is Mike Tholfsen from the Microsoft Education team with another episode of Remote Learning with Microsoft EDU. And I work on the product team for Microsoft Education, and we've been doing these for a few weeks now. I think this might be our lucky number 13 episode. And today is going to be a very good one. And today we've actually only got one group. Sometimes we have two guests, but really the guests today are so awesome, we just gave them the whole show. So we'll do the latest news and updates briefly, and then we're going to have Teams for Education in one of the earliest and broadest rollouts we've seen of Teams for Education in the West Ada District in Idaho. And there's a whole set of folks here that you'll be getting to meet soon. And so we'll just get to news and updates and then turn it over to West Ada. So just a review of our three favorite links. There's the main Microsoft EDU remote learning site. There's the Teams for Education Quick Start Guide, which was recently improved and made better. And it's in lots of languages now for the global audience. And then make sure you've already signed up for our Microsoft EDU remote learning community. If you have not, we've got, I think it's over 5,000 now, educators from around the United States as well as the entire globe. And the Microsoft product team engineers are working hand in hand with schools who are collaborating, sharing best practices. Geri's in this group amongst many of her close pals. So it's a great place to learn from others and get tips and tricks and get help when you need it. In terms of our updates for today, we've got the Teams for Education ideas and scenarios. This one is actually the higher ed link. So before we had K-12, this link right here is for higher ed. So if you want to learn about really cool things that people are doing with Teams for Education, there's a bunch of Flipgrid videos, little short and sweet ones you can watch. And you can add your own if you're doing cool things in higher education. So check that out. We just launched today. It's a really useful blog. I highly recommend it. So it turns out there's a lot of people, especially in the world of video conferencing, who are concerned about privacy and security. There's a lot of bad actors going on right now around the world with all this video conferencing. And I'm not going to name any names, but it's just happening. And Microsoft, luckily, and Teams, we put out a full blog detailing all of the privacy, compliance, FERPA certification, HIPAA certification. There are so many acronyms and compliance and security and privacy labels in this blog. I can't even remember them all, but I can say we're certified. I think it said 90 different acronyms worth of certification. So we're highly privacy, secure, and compliance ready if that's a concern in your school or country. And then lastly, I talked about this maybe a week ago, but just putting out, I've started personally a Quick Tips EDU YouTube channel where I put out 1 to 2 minute videos. I've been putting out a couple every day. I think I'm up to almost 30 now. And if you want to get up and running really quickly and easily without committing to a multi-hour PD training, these little 1 to 2 minute videos are helpful for a lot of people. So check that out as well. And with that, there we go. We're going to be doing Teams EDU across a large district in Idaho, and that would be West Ada District. And your MC for this Idaho extravaganza is going to be Geri Gillespy from our own education engagement team. Geri, just a month or two ago, started on this team. She's a peer of mine now. We work together. We're in this community together. And she's going to be your master of ceremonies because while she left her team in Idaho, she still works very closely with them, and a bunch of them are on the call today. And so with that, I'm going to unshare my screen, and we're going to have Geri take over and talk about West Ada and all the things they've done with Teams. So great to have you, Geri. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. And today, this is a great opportunity for me to be able to highlight the people that I work with, because honestly, I couldn't do this without a team and even the support of people in our district and the leadership that we had there. So yes, I am transitioning into a new role from where I was at West Ada. And I believe on the slide, as I've got someone on my team, Jen, is moving slides for us. So she's going to go forward and I'm going to There we go. I'm going to talk about our team. So in West Ada, we are the largest.
Really quick, sorry, I want to interrupt.
Yeah.
Jen, it looks like we're seeing your behind the scenes notes. I don't know if you want to exit PowerPoint and restart, but now that you're duplicating screens, it should be good. Sorry about that.
There we go.
There we go.
Right here. Yes. All right. Now that we're set here, yes, West Ada is the largest school district in Idaho with just about 41,000 students and 57 buildings right now, which will soon be 3 more buildings over the next couple of years. We started as any other district trying to be as innovative as we could and ended up having 57 different variations of devices, models, programs, different in every school. I, for the last 5 years, have been the digital integration administrator there, which means that my team was responsible for supporting and working with the IT department and with the curriculum department in supporting instructional technology in all buildings and in the departments that we served, as far as the support services like the business offices, the management offices, curriculum coordinators, making sure everybody was in the system working together to move forward. And I have to be honest with you, through growing pains, we started out slow, but really were able to get a structure and a system in place. And this is the magic, or these people right here. There was a time when we first started this about 4 years ago where this team was really down to 2 of us supporting the largest network in Idaho with 44,000 people on it. So we needed to create a structure and a system that built capacity and that enabled us to be able to use the resources that we had, because we weren't able to get into every single building every single day. So I had digital integration specialists that we broke up regionally. We were able to put in systems and structures and grow this team to the people that are on this webinar today. And I'm going to let them introduce specific information of how we did that in our district as we move forward. Jen, can you go to the next slide for me? Thank you. Yes. So technology is a tool for transformation. We know this. This was at a conference where hopefully people probably on this webinar have even seen. This was George Kuros, because reminding us, and this is something that's so important when you are working with remote learning now, as we know, and putting in systems using tools such as the Microsoft tools that we implemented in our district, is that the teachers make the difference, right? These are tools to allow teachers to be masterful at what they're already good at. Right? So what we needed to do was identify the tools that we had in our system. As I mentioned, we had a variety of devices, we had a variety of systems, however, nothing was working together. So we asked teachers what they could not live without, what really fit for our system in our district, and that was the Microsoft 365 tools, and especially Teams. We built systems off of Teams that became hierarchical teams from our district office down to the desk level for students. And really what we looked at was that back and forth communication between producers of information and those that have to consume information, because our end goal is to have our students be able to be that producer of information. And so for us to be able to do that, we had to have channels of for that system to happen, all the way from our district services where we were down to the building level and leadership to the teachers and then to students, and then be able to come back and forth with that flow. This is definitely a quote that is important to us and our team. It's important to remember that implementation plans are not for the planners, but for the implementers, which means this is all about building capacity. When you are building support structures and putting out systems, you need to remember to use those tools that you have, those resources you have to build capacity in buildings. And we're going to talk about how we did that, and we're able to do that in our system. Jen, next slide for me, please. The key thing here is that it's about the learning for all and even the adults. And I know right now, just with the urgency and what's happening with remote learning, I know that everyone out there is in learning mode, but remembering those key things that we know, what we do is social. That's why tools like Teams and Flipgrid and even being able to use PowerPoint and Office Suite to have that element of social interaction. We're missing those conversations that happen in the classroom that really support instruction, but they support the relationships that we have with our students. So try and build in those times to be able to meet with your colleagues, meet with your students, and be able to have a little bit back of that social interaction. And using the tools that we have with Microsoft are a great way to do that. Because it is about learning right now for everyone that's involved, and especially the adults. There is a resource at the end of this webinar that I'm going to share, and it's actually a report that was just released by the OECD, which is an organization that looks at education and political and social structures globally, offering support, and they just released a report that has a checklist for creating systems and looking at systems for remote learning. It's a really easy use to be able to evaluate systems, especially as you hear today what we're going to talk about and what we implemented to be able to build capacity just using the resources that we had. So I'm going to turn it over to my team right now and let them talk about what a great job they're doing. I am transitioning out of the district, and I cannot be more proud of the work that the district is doing and that this team is doing because of systems that were put into place. So.
Thanks, Geri. This is Lisa Bray, and I am a digital integration specialist on Geri's team here in Idaho. And what you're looking at here is a chart that represents an ideal training plan for intentional use of technology. And this is a plan that we had in place. We started at the district level and designed this plan. It has a walk, jump, and leap stage. And as you notice, in the walk phase, our goal was to go into a building and discuss with the building administrator their vision and their current reality, and then to help draft up a plan for integration into their building. Stage 2, it was all about that building support team, and we reminded our principals that there were at least 2 digital leads in their building who could also help support the training and be those leaders in that building. For stage 3, you'll notice that we're actually now into the staff training plan, and there's opportunities in there that would help allow for differentiated support. The plan was ongoing and often changing as the building progressed, and we just kept constant contact in with our administrators. And because of this system being already in place, it just made it just a little bit easier when the crisis hit. Next slide, Jen. So when the crisis hit, we knew we had to reach out to our district leadership team to see if we could help support our remote learning plan. We already had a system in place that we were using, and we knew we had to carry this out immediately. It was urgent. We set out to quickly train our directors, our district leadership, and even our school board trustees to how to use those online meetings. Just as Geri had mentioned, we're social people, and oftentimes in education, we don't get a chance or an opportunity to use online meetings. So this was a little bit tricky and a little bit uncomfortable for many of our people in our organization. We also wanted to keep the focus still on our goals, who the support people were, what resources we had, and what infrastructure was already in place. All of this had to take place in a quick amount of time. We immediately reached out to our principals to see if they needed any support, because we knew that they were going to be creating or using their Microsoft Teams school-wide, and maybe even using them with some staff members that have never used Microsoft Teams before. We assured them that there would be some professional development opportunities online and that we'd be providing that training for them. We also told them that we'd be able to record this for easy access so that it could be accessed at any time. And Jen's going to speak just a little bit more about how this progression would continue and how the plans developed.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. So this progression looks familiar. We use this format in nearly all of our planning as we are lining out tools and resources for our teachers and staff. This specifically is focused on Microsoft products that we've been teaching on for several years, and the development of this really was refreshing for even myself, being fresh out of the classroom, not really being an expert in necessarily any of these resources, but learning them on the job. And it helped me to know where to start. Where should I start to best help the teachers that I was going to be working with? It also helps us assess and helps teachers or staff members assess themselves to know where they should point their focus when they're just maybe beginning into some of these tools. So this format kind of kept us going as we have been offering in-person professional development for the past several years. Also, like I said, just giving people a chance to have a starting point and working, for example, over here in the walk section, just working in the cloud, moving their files. I know that seems very basic, but we needed our people to understand working in the cloud before they could be fully successful in the jump or the leap stage. The next one, so when remote learning, when this crisis, as Lisa kind of mentioned, this crisis learning hit just a couple of weeks ago, we knew that teams, and specifically class teams, was going to be a focus for many of our teachers, if not all of our teachers across our large district. And so while we did have a teams progression similar to this prior to just a couple of weeks ago, we specifically redesigned this progression to focus on class teams. We knew that was going to be our platform as a district for delivering content to students. And so we also needed to identify what the needs of the teachers were going to be during this time. One of those, as Lisa was mentioning, online meetings. That was something that was prior to remote learning that was not necessarily important because we were seeing our students every day in the classroom. Teachers had that in-person contact. But we knew that was going to be an area that they were going to need to do with their students, but also even before that, they were going to need to be able to do that with their PLCs and meet remotely. What this progression did is it allowed us to also start developing professional development sessions that we have used live events for in our district to be able to chunk that information out into 45-minute to 1-hour sessions that people could identify what they needed in that moment. And they could join us during those sessions. On this slide, I know there's a lot going on, but I wanted to give you just a quick snapshot of what we have tried to put together. It's still a work in progress. We started with a OneNote Notebook. We knew we were going to need one place for our teachers and staff to go to gather links and documents and resources to help them get started. We have been a OneNote district for quite some time, and we felt like teachers were going to be able to at least consume the information in that OneNote notebook. Just OneNote in and of itself is a large, robust tool. So we did question, is this the right place? But we figured, based on experience with OneNote, that this was going to be doable. And so far, that's been successful. We have not had a lot of teachers struggle with understanding and being able to navigate the notebook. So this allows us to change links, to add information. You can see sections across the top. These are just things that we're building as we go to help our teachers with what their needs are in the moment. Over to the right here, these are a list of the last week's remote PD sessions that we did using live events. We shared those links through the notebook, through a section right here in that notebook, and then we recorded them and listed them here. The numbers were astounding, I would say, for how many staff members attended those sessions, even on the 2 days prior to their actual start date back on contract with the district. We started them 2 days early so that we could give them a little heads up, and we had sessions with nearly 300 to 400 people in some of those sessions the first few days. And then many more people have been reviewing those sessions. And this is all based off of that progression where we chunked out those different stages of what was needed in a PLC team. We started with those PLC teams. That's been our model for several years, just getting comfortable with the tools, working with one another and with your colleagues, and then breaking them down into those sections with students. And then the last little screenshot over here in the corner, per Geri's suggestion, was that we needed to create a place where teachers could collaborate and just help one another. We'd previously done that with some other initiatives that our district was doing and creating a team for them to be able to join and just share ideas. So we do have this West Ada School District remote learning team that we're using. And I think last I checked, there were about 600 of our 2,000 teachers are in there, and that's growing every day. But what we're able to do with that team is the three of us on our digital integration specialist team monitors that, and we try to do our best to answer those questions. But we also have our digital leads, and Erin's going to talk about our digital leads here in just a little bit. But every one of our school buildings has one or two people who hold a leadership position as a either digital integration lead or a digital tech lead. And so they are really our innovators and our liaison between what we're maybe putting into place at the district level and then how that looks in a building. And so they have really jumped on board and helped us run some of these PD sessions. They're helping us to monitor this remote learning team. We've encouraged them and given them the freedom to answer questions and support people to the best of their ability. And then we're also working on getting a couple of our IT service desk members into that team to maybe answer the more technical questions. So it's one other location, especially as we're working remotely, where people can log into Teams and go to this one place and share ideas. And in that team, we've also linked all of this information that's included in the notebook. So we're sharing that out in multiple ways. So Erin is going to talk a little bit more about that building capacity using those digital leads, because they have just been critical to us during this time.
Thanks, Jen. As Jen said, we have 2 digital leads most of the time in each school. And prior to joining this team at the district level, I was one of those digital leads at a school. Along with my teaching, I was the digital lead. And so the role of those digital leads on a day-to-day basis would be kind of doing some problem solving, help creating connections between people in the building, but also across different buildings, and also out to the district, facilitate communication, and then support their principal in providing organization, providing training, and just identifying strengths of people that could help out at the building. So if one particular teacher is really good at Excel, maybe the digital lead knows that and can connect them to the people that they need. Or they know some teachers are using Teams in their building, they can connect them with other teachers who are interested in using Teams with their classes. And that was all kind of prior. And then go ahead to the next slide, Jen. Kind of prior to the situation we have now of remote learning. But then once this situation hit, they were even more critical. We reached out to these digital leads at the buildings to help do multiple things. One of them was, as Jen mentioned earlier, to support us as we did training across the district at a large level to kind of support with question and answers and do that in the training sessions. But really important also is to support staff in the building. They were and are continuing to be sort of the place that teachers know to go for their first questions. They can ask those digital leads what they need to know to be able to meet together and troubleshoot some of those things. And then digital leads are able to reach out to us and can make connections with us if necessary. And so those digital leads have been really important in this. And whether that is laid out in your district currently, or you have to find those people, those teachers are the ones that are innovative and leaders and can support their staff. And then, of course, they help communicate information and direct teachers to those trainings and to the resources that Jen was talking about earlier as they become available. Go ahead to the next slide, Jen. The other thing that was critical is the relationships. So not only with the digital leads, but also relationships we had with principals and district administrators, and having those established already was really important. And then also continuing to establish those and use those relationships to get through this crazy last few weeks of training multiple people at the district level. As Lisa mentioned earlier, we, with the help of our chief technical officer, were able to get into some meetings and help train our highest level district administrators so that they could continue business as usual, or at least as well as possible with the remote tools. And then they could start to see what was possible for teachers and principals at their levels. Those digital leads and teachers that were willing to lead and learn along the way that we already had relationships with have been invaluable. And then also principals, making sure that They knew we were available to help them, but also having had contact with them previously, they were able to be a little vulnerable and ask questions that might be difficult about what they should do next, and then be willing to take that advice for how to function in this unique time we're in. And Amy, I think, is going to talk a little bit more from an administrator at a building point of view.
Thank you, Aaron. I'm going to try and talk and losing my voice a little bit, so I apologize about that. I do have a little bit of a unique experience where I came from Geri's team as a digital integration specialist and transitioned to the building level as an assistant principal. So being able to see the system and structures that were put in place and how they are being used in a building has been a really unique experience. With that said, excuse me, in the time that I was working on Geri's team, it became very evident that administrators were really a key to moving an entire system forward, and that we needed to include them as part of the development of that system and to ensure that they are supported throughout the implementation of a system. So in a building, our principals do serve as the main change agent, and they are the ones that develop systems for the building and act as the lead learners and provide provide professional development for their teachers. So Jen, can I have you transition to the next slide? So our other members of the team have mentioned this several times, but the biggest key is to identify what your current reality is and what systems do you already have in place. And that became ever more important in this time of remote learning for us to determine what systems we had in place. We also needed to identify what resources we had available. Excuse me, I'm going to jump out and let Geri pick up where I left off.
Okay, sorry. So really, when we look at administrators and their main role is change building and agents, is that relationship, like I talked about earlier, is key when you're supporting your building. So making sure that you are including your administrators in all of your trainings and really specifying how their role might be changing, especially with remote learning, and when they're using technology as a change agent. They are part of that system change that needs to happen, and support for teachers in the building level, being able to communicate that consistent vision, as you can see here, but also being able to model for teachers the experience that you want to see at that student level. That was a key to helping our administrators, I know across our system, was providing opportunities for them themselves to step into that role as that teacher that's going to eventually be supporting their students in the capacity and in the ways that we wanted learning to be able to actually be played out using the tools that we had. So putting teachers and administrators in meetings, having them post and chat, having them use these tools to communicate and collaborate, because remember, these are tools that are being used in our system right now, even as we look at industry today across all of what's being used in an enterprise. If our model and our system was college and career readiness, and being able to use these tools not only for learning, but be able to extend that to what that looks like and tools that they're going to be using later on in the system was also key. Helping administrators develop those systems within the building is, again, what we mentioned earlier about those implementation plans are really going to be about the implementers that are in the building. When I was a building principal, it was key for me to make sure that my teachers had buy-in and understanding and felt supported, because I could not be in every single classroom every single minute of the day. So they were essentially the piece that I needed to feel supported, so that their students felt supported and that they understood what that image was of using these tools and what that fit in their identity as a teacher. Having the self-esteem and the confidence to be able to do that and to actually have see how these tools help save time so that they had instructional time that was increased, but be able to also have a space that had resources where people could access, collaborate, and changed conversations, because it no longer was a conversation about what is the data saying. It was now, what can we do with our data to move forward? And making sure that you had those whole building systems of support so that every member of the learning community felt included and felt supported. Administrators are lead learners. This is something that is very important when you are in developing a system, is making sure that you give opportunities for all people in your building to lead from where they're at, but modeling that as an administrator is key. So that people can see what that means as an aspect of being a leader from where you are. Being able to build the capacity within your own building, to use the knowledge and the relationships of your own staff for them to build capacity within each other. We use support systems in our buildings, which essentially were support units of teachers that were willing to answer questions, provide examples, and model what was happening in the classrooms, and became really a source of support for other teachers. Even in remote learning, I've seen this happening across districts, large districts that have to do this at scale. They're really pulling on those relationships of their staff and their support system to help teachers learn from each other and to really establish that leadership within that's coming from administrators, but also being that modeling factor that's encouraging everyone to step in and really look at how education is changing. Amy, I'm not sure if there's anything else you want to add on that administrator aspect.
No, Geri, thanks for jumping in. Sorry about that. I've been losing my voice off and on. You hit everything, just really that it's about identifying the resources that you have in your building, utilizing the people who can jump in and learn quickly and support those around so that your teachers have the support that they need at whatever level that they are at, whether it's one-on-one, small group, or being able to access some of the resources that maybe your district provides as support and professional development. It's just about that. But don't forget to loop those principles in, because they really are a key component of that sustainability. That's all.
Thank you, Amy. Mike, do you want me to pass this back to you?
Sure, I'll reshare my screen. Thanks, West Ada crew and Geri. That was super cool to see all the work that you put in, and also great tips for people who are also maybe newer here, who are going to be trying to do these types of things soon. So thank you for that. Just a recap of today's updates. We've got the Teams EDU ideas. That's a Flipgrid. Really, this one is targeted for higher education, so learn about what other institutions are doing and add your own idea. We've got the M365 privacy and security blog. There's a lot of questions right now about video conferencing and what's secure, what's private, what FERPA, COPPA regulations are met, all these questions. Great new blog that answers, at least from the Microsoft perspective, where we stand there. And if you haven't already, go check out my Quick Tips EDU YouTube channel. Go subscribe to it. I'm putting new videos out daily. And then also, as Geri mentioned briefly in the beginning, we've put the link to the this framework, a guide to education response for COVID-19 pandemic. So it's from the OECD, and a lot of good detail in that document for those of you that want to check that out and learn more. And then for today's webinar, just a reminder, the PowerPoint's going to be posted later tonight. We'll be posting this video of the whole webinar on our YouTube playlist. We're posting videos there regularly. Lots of previous ones, if you might have missed, are up there. And then we have our education support site. So anytime you need help or have an issue, be sure to file an education support ticket and we can help out. And then coming up just the next few days, we've got Wakelet and Bunsey in our partner corner. It's our first ever partner corner. We're going to hope to have more partners in the future. We've got doing remote PD. We've got Kathy Kavanaugh and Kathy Kersey from Jersey. It's a dual Kathy show, one with a Y, one with an I. one with a C, one with a K. And then Thursday is special education and IEP plans for remote learning, and Karen Philhart's going to be leading us through that really important topic. The whole schedule is pasted below, so if you go to this link at the bottom, you can find all the links for all the webinars, all the show notes, all the everythings. And with that, thanks to Marilyn for helping produce this behind the scenes, and hopefully we will see you soon. Bye-bye.